One of the most frequently asked questions we get from homeowners and soon-to-be homeowners is, should we pay off that mortgage early? And while that's a great question and seems like a simple question, there's really a lot of factors you need to consider before you take those steps. In today's video, we're going to talk about 7 different areas you need to evaluate to help you determine what's the best route for you. First, let's talk about interest rates. You've got to know your interest that you're paying on that mortgage, but you also need to understand, what could I use that money for to invest in alternatively, and what kind of return am I getting from that type of investment? If you're paying 5 or 6% on a mortgage and you can invest those dollars and earn 7 or 8% over the long term, it may not make the most sense to pay down that mortgage early. Conversely, if you're paying 5% on a mortgage and you can only get 3% with your investments over the time frame you're looking, then it may make sense to pay that mortgage down early. So understand the comparable interest rates and how they can impact you. Number 2 is tax consequences. Most homeowners can write off a portion of their mortgage interest. And so if you pay that mortgage down early, you're going to have less interest costs and less tax deductions. Having those tax deductions ultimately reduce your overall borrowing costs. So if you're paying 5% on a mortgage, but you're writing off some of that interest every year, your after-tax cost might be 4.5%, for example, because you're getting some tax deduction. It's saving you on the tax side of things. So understanding the tax dynamics is critical. Number 3 is opportunity costs. Paying off the mortgage early means less money available for other investments. So understand what your alternatives are and where you could direct dollars. Additionally, liquidity has some value. If you've got a nice stash of cash and an investment opportunity comes along that's attractive, you can take advantage of that. If you've used most of that cash to pay down the mortgage, then you've lost that opportunity to invest in a potentially higher returning investment. Number 4 is financial goals. Paying off that mortgage early can provide a peace of mind to your overall financial picture, but you're likely to have other goals as well, which would include savings for retirement, savings for the kids' college, maybe saving for a future home or vacation. And so taking the mortgage payments in conjunction with these other investments and understanding what kind of returns you might get in some of those investments. One example would be if paying off the mortgage early means you've got to save less in your kids' college savings fund, you could be missing out on some long-term returns that could be 7 or 8% after taxes and fees. And that could be much more attractive than paying down a 4 or 5% mortgage. Number 5 is risk tolerance. Paying off that mortgage early reduces risk by eliminating a major debt. So that's a good thing. But it also means that you might miss out on some better rates of return in some longer term investments. And so understanding what your risk tolerance is. If you're skewed to the more conservative side of things, then paying down that mortgage certainly could make the most sense. But if you're more of a growth-oriented and long-term oriented investor and willing to take risk, then maybe paying off that mortgage isn't such a great idea, and investing in some longer-term investments might make more sense in your picture. Number 6 is other debts. You might have, besides your mortgage, auto loans, lines of credit, credit card debt. Each one of those generally has higher interest rates than a mortgage. We've seen some credit card debts north of 10%, 15%. Lines of credit interest rates are 8 or 9% right now. Auto loans could certainly be 5, 6, 7%. So comparing and taking care of those higher interest rate loans first before concentrating on that mortgage could make some great sense. And lastly, the emergency fund. While it's critical to have 3 to 6 months of cash built up for those unexpected expenses or loss of income, paying that mortgage off early might mean you're going to draw down that emergency fund. And you need to understand what the impact could be to you on that and make sure you fully understand that impact. As you can see, this is no easy question to answer. You've got a lot of factors you need to consider, and they all impact each other. So it's important to take your time, evaluate each one of these areas, and make sure what's the right step for you. For more financial content, please click the subscribe button below. I'm Tim Hawkins with Wealth Charter Retirement Planning, simplifying wealth one video at a time. Number 6 is other debts.